State Fair is tons of fun, but it can also bring up some health issues if you're not careful. So we have Dr. Kristi Trussell from the emergency room joining us now to talk about some of the common problems that people do run into at the fair. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
So it's fun. There's a lot of food, there's a lot of walking, but you can get hurt, and there are ways to prevent it. What are the top things that you see when you talk about injuries at the fair?
Well, I'd say the most common thing that we see at the urgency room after a fair visit would be abdominal pain and stomach upset related to overeating, indulging in things that you just typically wouldn't eat.
Mm-hmm. So there's tip number one.
So let's solve it. We know people have gas at the fair, but what do you recommend they do when they start feeling poor? I mean, because at that point, the decision to stop eating is not an option, or to not eat that stuff.
Well, so moderation up front, obviously. However, on the back end, if you are feeling some stomach upset, over-the-counter antacids are a good start, or some of the over-the-counter acid-lowering medicines.
Okay. Another thing I know is very common out there is foot injuries, or just general blisters, all kinds of stuff when you're walking, hundreds of steps, thousands of steps each day.
Yeah. Fair does really put the steps on. A good, sensible pair of shoes is really important for preventing blisters, preventing rolled ankles, ankle sprains.
And we know the kids and some of the adults love to pet the animals and feed the animals. Are there any concerns there with diseases that animals could carry?
Well, animals can carry a variety of different bacteria, and particularly these bacteria can be spread in the animal's stool. So after touching or petting an animal, it's just really important to wash your hands, particularly before you head back to eat any of those fair foods.
Okay.
Another thing, we do a lot of eating, but we probably don't do as much drinking water out at the fair. Have you seen any of that where people just come back and they're not quite sure what's wrong?
Yeah, if you're not feeling well after a day out and about, sitting down and just having a good glass of water is a good first step. Oftentimes we just don't realize how much we've really exerted ourselves when we're out and about, and hydration is so important.
If you're out there for a day, how much water do you need to be drinking?
Well, I don't know that there's any specific amount, but just drinking before you're thirsty, making sure that you're, in general we say we want folks to go to the bathroom and urinate, relatively clear urine a couple of times a day.
So that's the way to tell. Alcohol does not help, right?
No, alcohol can be dehydrating.
And it doesn't count either as drinking, right?
Count against you, actually. Yeah.
So typically we'd say at least one glass of water for every alcoholic beverage.
Okay. Dr. Trussell, thanks so much for coming today. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Enjoy the fair.
Yes.
Just remember the good tips.
Right, because you want to be back next year and not have any of the same problems, no repeat performances.